Hello everyone, my name is Unraveled, but you can call me Rav. There are generally two main goals to every Pokemon game. Become the champion of the region, and the arguably more difficult task, completing the Pokedex. This second one is a huge ordeal, with some people never completing it. But some trainers go even further than that and build a Living Dex. But what if we could go even further? I decided that I wanted to try to complete a Living Dex in each generation. And first, we need to start our journey by choosing a game. Pokemon has over 40 different mainline series Pokemon games across 9 generations that we can choose from. After a few minutes of careful consideration, I decided to begin this mission with the first entries in the series: Red, Blue, and Yellow. Chapter 1. The Journey Begins. We wake up in the Kanto region from the good old days. Leaving the house, we talk to Professor Oak and get our starter Pokemon. Red gets Charmander, Blue, Squirtle, and Yellow, a Pikachu. Instead of telling you what game grabbed each Pokemon from now on, I put a colored border around them, representing the game they come from. I also decided to challenge myself a bit and choose to play the Japanese versions of Blue and Green. Green grabs a Bulbasaur, and Blue another Squirtle. I'll explain why I decided to play both of these games just a bit later. As we progress forwards to get our Pokedex, let's go over a few rules. First, we need to complete a living Pokedex. This means we can't just evolve our Venusaur and be satisfied. We have to have one of each line in our PC, so we have to have a Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Venusaur, for all Pokemon. 2. Catch every Pokemon as soon as we can. I think it's really easy to complete a Pokedex after we've beaten the game and all resources are available to us. That makes catching Pokemon a lot easier. I've decided to catch every new Pokemon possible before facing the next gym leader, with a few exceptions of course. This should make the game a bit more challenging for myself as I play. And number 3. Get the diploma. When you complete a Pokedex, there is an NPC in most games who will give you a certificate for completing the challenge. It's a nice reward and I want to make sure I grab it. With the rules I've set for myself in place, here's my journey through Kanto, catching every Pokemon. We bring Oak's parcel to him and he rewards us with the device that sets us on our challenge, a Pokedex. Every time we catch a new Pokemon, I'll add it to our total. Right now, since our Pikachu and Yellow can never evolve, we can award ourselves with 1, only 150 to go. Once our others evolve, we'll add them to the total as well. This section before facing Brock doesn't have a lot of Pokemon, which is good for us. As we move through Route 1 for the 3rd time, we can make our way to the Pokemart to buy the second most important item for us, Pokeballs. We buy 15 and make our way back to Route 1 and catch a Pidgey and a Rattata. We can catch their evolutions on later routes as we progress through our journey, so we'll add them to our total now. On Route 22, we search through the grass and manage to find a Nidoran male and female, Spearow and Mankey. We put all of these into our PC except for Mankey. It has an important job to do before we put it in our PC later. We also see our rival. He tells us about the Pokemon League challenge and then challenges us to a battle. Each profile manages to beat him pretty easily. As we make our way out of Viridian City for the first time, we see the old man who is blocking the road again, except this time he's had his coffee. Or he sobers up in the Japanese versions. And he offers to teach us how to catch a Pokemon. Maybe later, old man. Pressing forward, we find ourselves in the maze that is Viridian Forest. Between getting lost, battling bug catchers, and trekking through the tall grass, we managed to add a few more Pokemon to our Pokedex. We catch 2 Caterpies, 2 Weedles, a Metapod, and a Kakuna. And I also managed to find another Pikachu that will evolve later. Stumbling out of the gloomy winding forest, we blink the sunlight out of our eyes and see Pewter City for the first time. We heal our Pokemon and begin to leave the city and... oh. He's forcing us to face the gym. I guess it's time to face Brock? Honestly, he's probably the easiest win this game will give us. Squirtle and Bulbasaur easily destroy his Geodude and Onix, Charmander just burns them to a crisp with Ember, and Mankey easily knocks them out. Brock hands us the Boulder Badge. We box Mankey and continue on our journey. We leave the city and onto a route packed with trainers. Yay! And after a bit of back and forth to the Pokemon Center, we finally managed to make it past them. The only good thing to come out of all these trainer battles was that I was able to evolve 1 Caterpie into Butterfree and 1 Weedle into Beedrill. At this point, Mount Moon is looming over us, but what's that sound? It sounds like... singing? Strolling into the grass, we managed to find the source, Jigglypuff. Fighting off drowsiness, I managed to catch 2 Jigglypuffs on Route 3. We'll evolve 1 with a Moonstone just a bit later. Stopping at the last Pokemon Center before entering into the mountain, some strange man offers to sell us a Pokemon for 500 Pokemon dollars. We buy 2 and we can add Magikarp to our decks. As we enter the mountain, we're ambushed by a swarm of Zubats. We manage to catch one before pushing deeper into the heart of the mountain. As we delve deeper, we manage to find a Paris, a Geodude, and 2 Clefairies. Grabbing 2 of the Moonstones we just picked up, we evolve 1 Jigglypuff into Wigglytuff and 1 Clefairy into Clefable. As we near the exit, some shady group of people calling themselves Team Rocket ambushes us. We manage to get away before finding a man standing before 2 fossils. We beat him in a battle and he says we get to choose one. Well, I woke up today and chose violence. Dome Fossil is our main choice. Sorry, Lord Helix. We actually managed to get 2 copies of the Helix Fossil and 2 Dome Fossils. We'll be reviving these a bit later. Stumbling out of Mount Moon into Route 4, we grab an Ekans and a Sandshrew that were fighting each other before heading into Cerulean City. We make our way towards the Nugget Bridge and battle our rival again. At the end of the bridge, we get asked to join Team Rocket, which we turn down. I'm not a thief. We turn Bill back into a human, and then it's time to catch a few more Pokemon on our way back towards Cerulean. On Route 24, we catch Oddish, 2 Abra, Bellsprout, and we received a Charmander from a trainer who's considering releasing it. And now it's time to face Misty. The only profile that really has any difficulty against Misty is Red, but with the help of the Oddish we just caught, we eventually defeated Misty. And then we grab Bulbasaur from a lady who just finished nursing it back to health. Chapter 2. Our World Expands. With the SS Anne ticket from Bill safely secured in our pocket, we left Cerulean via a crime scene. Yes, by moving through a hole in the wall we find the culprit, Team Rocket. We destroy his team in a Pokemon battle and push on towards Vermilion City and towards the SS Anne. Near the daycare, we can catch another Mankey and 2 Meowths. Eventually we'll evolve this Mankey and 1 of the Meowths, but not at this moment. We can't go through to Saffron yet because the guard is thirsty, and for some reason that makes it so we're not allowed to go past him. So, we take the underground path outside and go under Saffron and arrive on Route 6, and head into Vermilion City shortly afterwards. Then, we head straight to the SS Anne. Touring the ship, we can converse and battle with several trainers. Before we manage to reach the stairs to the captain's quarters, our rival walks down them and challenges us to a battle. We cut down our rival's team, rub the seasick captain's back, and we get, well, HMO1, cut, and continue on our journey. I'm not going to fight Surge just yet. Our main goal is completing the Pokedex after all, so this gym can wait a bit longer. I also won't be grabbing the Old Rod from the Fishing Guru, as it can only catch Magikarp in Gen 1, and we already have the 2 that we need. So, we pass on to Route 11 where we catch a Drowsy. And then we head into Diglett's cave and take some time catching a Diglett and a Dugtrio. We also travel through the cave to grab the old Amber from the museum in Pewter City, and on the way back we grab Flash and trade an extra Abra for Mr. Mime. This is the only Pokemon we cannot have in our original trainer name in Generation 1. I really want it in my trainer name, so we'll address how I'm going to do that just a bit later. With nothing else to do in Vermilion, we can backtrack to Cerulean and head east onto Route 9. We move past all the trainers to Route 10, where we catch a Voltorb before descending deep into the pitch blackness of Rock Tunnel. While we are blind in the darkness, we manage to stumble into a Machop and an Onix. Stepping out of Rock Tunnel, the solemn sounds of Lavender Town dampen our spirits a bit. We leave the town quickly. We'll come back just a bit later. Moving through Route 7, we take the other underground path under Saffron and arrive on Route 8. Here, nestled in the grass, we can find 2 Growlithe and 2 Vulpix. And now, it's time for some shopping. In Celadon City, our first stop is at the department store. On the 4th floor, we buy 3 Fire Stones, 4 Water Stones, 2 Thunder Stones, and 2 Leaf Stones. We also buy a Pokédoll, and head to the roof to buy ourselves a Soda Pop. With all the evolution stones we need for this run, we evolve a Growlithe and a Vulpix into Arcanine and Ninetales. We also grab 4 Eevees and evolve 3 of them into Vaporeon, Flareon, and Jolteon. We also evolve the Pikachu that we caught in Viridian Forest into a Raichu. We head into the game corner, and we descend down into Team Rocket's base, where we face Team Rocket, defeat Giovanni, and get the Silph Scope. And we go ahead and leave the game corner for now. We'll grab Porygon a bit later. Returning to Route 8, we give the guard the Soda Pop that we bought, and we head through to Saffron, back to the Pokemon Tower. We spook our rival and head up the tower towards the ghost of Cubone's mother. When I first started this challenge, I didn't know anything about this speedrun trick, but if you use the Pokédoll on the ghost, you can get past it without the Silph Scope, which I didn't find out until I'd already finished 4 of the 5 games that I played. Anyways, after defeating Team Rocket and rescuing Mount Fuji at the top of the tower, our starters reach their final evolution: Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise. Using the Silph Scope, we can catch a Ghastly, Cubone, and 2 Haunters on the upper floor. We trade 1 Haunter to get Gengar, which means we're almost 33% done with our Living Dex. We talk to Mr. Fuji, who takes us to his house, and he gives us the Pokeflute. And with this, the game opens up to us even more than it was before, and we can explore roughly 80% of Kanto. After waking up the sleeping Snorlax with our terrible musical talent on Route 12, the Fishing Guru on this route hands us the Super Rod, and now it's time for us to catch a lot of Pokemon. On Route 12, we catch a Venonat, 2 Glooms, 2 Weepinbell, a Farfetch'd, and we fish up a Tentacool and a Krabby. We then evolve 1 Gloom into Vileplume and 1 Weepinbell into Victorybell with the 2 Leaf Stones. Backtracking towards Saffron, we enter the Fighting Dojo, hoping to learn some martial arts, and walk out with a Hitmonchan and a Hitmonlee. Since we defeated Team Rocket in Pokemon Tower, we can also just go ahead and defeat them in Silphco as well. So we make our way to the top. We defeat our rival on the way up. Why does he seem to be everywhere Team Rocket is? And we grab the Lapras gift before heading up, defeating Giovanni for the 2nd time, and getting the Master Ball from the Silphco President as a reward. With Team Rocket gone, we head back towards Celadon and head beyond to the next route. On Route 16, we cut down the tree and catch 2 Doduo. We'll box one and evolve the other later. After playing our Poké-Flute rather badly for the 2nd time, we wake up the 2nd Snorlax and move onwards to the Cycling Road. We never picked up the bike voucher to redeem a bicycle, but thanks to a glitch, we can just walk on through and head southwards on the Cycling Road. This doesn't work in yellow though. While heading southwards on the Cycling Road, we manage to catch Eradicate, and we stop on Route 18 to catch a Fearow. But we can't just take the easy way to Fuchsia. There is one Pokemon we need to catch elsewhere, and to do that, we're going south of Lavender Town and taking the most challenging way to get to Fuchsia. On Route 14, we catch a Ditto, before finally arriving in Fuchsia City. We grab the Good Rod here from the last fishing guru, and we head outside of his house and catch 3 Poliwags and a Goldeen. The Good Rod can only ever fish up these 2 Pokemon, so it doesn't take too long. With our Super Rod, we can also catch a Sea King in this tiny pond. We'll evolve 2 of our Poliwags just a bit later. And now, it's on to our next big challenge, the Safari Zone. We just need to move through it to get Surf and the Gold Teeth, and on our way through, we manage to stop for a few Pokemon and search the grass for rare encounters. We managed to somehow catch 2 Execute, 2 Nidorina, Parasect, Venomoth, Psyduck, Slowpoke, and 3 Dratini. We'll do something else to get the remaining Pokemon later, but we can easily evolve 1 Execute into Executor and 1 Nidorina into Nidoqueen. After receiving Surf and giving the Gold Teeth to the Warden, we receive Strength in return. Before fighting Koga, we head down towards Route 19 to do some last minute fishing. We reel in 2 Shelder, a Horsey, and 2 Staryu. We use 2 more Water Stones to evolve Shelder and Staryu into Cloyster and Starmie. With all these Pokemon caught, we fight Koga and gain the ability to use Surf outside of battle, and our world expands once again. Now, I don't normally do this, but I want to try this for a test. If you're enjoying the video so far, why not leave a like and subscribe? And if you want to see more content like this, leave a comment telling me what games you think I should do next. Anyways, let's continue with the video. Chapter 3, Glitchy Water. We surf south of Fuchsia through Route 19 and 20 and arrive at the Seafoam Islands. We peek inside, but it's freezing. We'll need some warmer clothes before we decide to descend any deeper. As we leave, we catch one of the Golbats that was flying around, and outside, we stop and fish up a Tentacruel with our Super Rod. Leaving the island for the sea once again, we finally arrive at Cinnabar Island. We head straight to the research lab and revive all of our fossils. We get 2 Ammonite, 2 Kabuto, and Aerodactyl. Once again, we'll evolve these a bit later. We then head into the decrepit Pokemon Mansion to grab the gym key before we head out to fight our next gym. Why is it even in here anyways? Like, I could understand if it was like just on the inside, but this key was all the way at the very end of this building. Is it a spare key? Who knows? While wandering around and fighting robbers as we make our way to the bottom to find this key, we catch Coughing, Wheezing, Grimer, Muck, 2 Ponyta, and Magmar. We finally get the gym key, and we begin to make our way back to Celadon for the 4th gym battle. The fastest way back is to actually take Diglett's Cave, so while we pass by Route 21, we stop and catch 2 Pidgeotos and a Tangela. We eventually get back to Celadon, and we fight Erica. After an easy battle, I decided I was tired of walking everywhere and went to fight Surge to get my Fly certification. Heading outside the gym, the police officer rewards us with a Squirtle. We have 2 more locations to visit before taking on the remaining 3 gym leaders. Back at the Seafoam Islands, we plunge deep inside, solving the strength puzzle as we go. As we make our way deeper and deeper to the source of this frigid air, we catch a Seal, Golduck, Dugong, and Jynx. That's right, Jynx. In Japanese Blue, Jynx is on the encounter list in the Seafoam Islands as a catchable Pokemon. This is the only game in Generation 1 where you can catch a Jynx. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to play Blue. Falling into the frigid waters at the bottom of the islands, we use one of our Master Balls on Articuno. After climbing from the depths of the Seafoam Islands, we make our way to the power plant. Inside, we catch Magnemite, Magneton, Electabuzz, and we spend quite a bit of time throwing Ultra Balls before we finally catch Zapdos. meaning that we are over 66% done with this challenge. Before taking on Sabrina, Blaine, and the mysterious 8th gym leader, we still have to catch Pokemon in the Safari Zone. However, we're not going to go to the Safari Zone to catch these Pokemon. If we walk around in each section of the Safari Zone until we run out of steps, we can then fly to Cinnabar Island, and if we surf on this edge of the coastline, we can encounter those Safari Zone Pokemon here. The only difference is that we can actually battle them and lower their HP, put them to sleep, and then catch them. This is my favorite glitch in all of Gen 1. With this, we can catch Rhyhorn, 2 Nidorino, Scyther, Pinsir, Kangaskhan, Tauros, and Chansey. We evolve one of the Nidorinos with a Moonstone to get Nidoking. This is much faster than finding these Pokemon in the Safari Zone, because the rare Pokemon only have a 4% chance to show up and a 6% catch rate. So I would much rather use this method where we can lower their HP and put them to sleep, and them not being able to run away is greatly appreciated. At this point, there's nothing left to do in the region except defeat the remaining gym leaders and evolve our Pokemon that are left. It was at this point I realized that I hadn't really built any team for each game yet. I was mainly just using my starters to power through the game. So I went ahead and trained up a team for Red, Blue, and Yellow. It was here I decided to make a 4th rule. Every single one of our teams in this challenge has to be unique. So while I can't have Alakazam on every team because it's the same Pokemon, I also don't want to have a Kadabra on my team either, because they're similar Pokemon. And I set a team up in place for each game, and I trained up them around the region on different trainers. And eventually I ran out of trainers to battle, so I had to grind in the grass. At this point, I decided Green and Blue would not be battling the Elite Four, and I was just going to be using Red, Blue, and Yellow. Going forward, here are our teams for each game. Red ended up with Charizard, Rhydon, Exeggutor, Alakazam, Lapras, and Tauros. Blue has Blastoise, Nidoking, the NPC traded Jynx, Jolteon, Kangaskhan, and Dragonite. And Yellow trained up a Pikachu, Slowbro, Snorlax, Dugtrio, Venusaur, and Dodrio. While training up these teams, we can add 5 to our total for evolving Rhydon, Dragonite, Slowbro, and Dodrio, as well as trading for Alakazam. After that huge grind session, we defeat Sabrina, Blaine, and the mysterious 8th gym leader, Giovanni. And then, remember that old man at the beginning that said he would teach us how to catch a Pokemon? Yeah, we went ahead and watched him teach us how to catch a Pokemon, even though we're almost done with the Dex. This is how we get the Missing No glitch to activate. We head back down to Cinnabar Island, battle Missing No, and we duplicate some of our rare candies to evolve some of our remaining Pokemon. While attempting to find Missing No, it turns out that because my trainer name is Unraveled, we can actually find Wild Squirtle here. So I managed to catch a level 100 Squirtle and put it in our box. So we evolved the following Pokemon with our duplicated rare candies. Squirtle into Wartortle, Magikarp into Gyarados, Mankey into Primeape, Meowth into Persian, 2 Poliwags into Poliwhirls, and then 1 Poliwhirl into a Poliwrath with a Water Stone. The remaining Dratini into Dragonair, Omanyte into Amistar, Kabuto into Kabutops, Ponyta into Rapidash, and Pidgeotto into Pidgeot. This brings our total to 131 out of 151. We also duplicate some nuggets and our Master Ball at the Missing No glitch, and head to Celadon once more and grab some of our glitched nuggets and buy ourselves a Porygon. Chapter 4. Becoming the very best, like no one ever was. Making our way west of Viridian City towards Victory Road, we destroy our rival once more, and on Route 23 we catch an Arbok, Sandslash, and fish up a Kingler and a Seadra. Inside Victory Road we catch 2 Machokes, 2 Gravelers, and Moltres. We trade a Machoke and Graveler, getting us a Machamp and a Golem. Our total Pokedex before fighting the Elite Four is 141 out of 151. Not bad, honestly. Before fighting the Elite Four, I decided to finish grinding up each team to at least level 50. With Red and Blue this wasn't a big issue, and we had already gotten our Dragonite to level 55. However, by the time I got to Yellow, I was tired of grinding, so I stopped grinding in Yellow after Slowbro and Snorlax got to level 50. But now, it's time to beat the game. Stepping through the doorway, I'm greeted with a wall of frigid air as my breath appears in front of my face. Lorelei has set the AC way too low here. Fitting, I guess, for the Water and Ice type master. Red crushes, slices, and incinerates her team with a combination of Rhydon, Exeggutor, and Charizard. Blue shocks her team to a crisp with Jolteon. And Yellow had the worst experience with Lorelei. I was hopeful that Pikachu could take down her entire team with some support from Venusaur, but both were frozen in their tracks. Slowbro eventually clutched the win with help from our Dugtrio. Next was Bruno, and his room smelled like a locker room. I blinked, and we found ourselves standing before Agatha. In the dim, gloomy light, Red's Alakazam busted all her ghosts, and Blue's Jynx and Yellow's Slowbro followed suit. The last Elite Four member was Lance. Red's Lapras, Blue's Blastoise, and Yellow's Slowbro sent them all back to the Ice Age, leaving a set of frozen statues scattered behind us as we moved on towards the final room. The Room of the Champion. We find ourselves before the champion, Blue. Each team he had was different, but the team I had built as I made my way through the game proved at every point to be superior in every way. Rhydon crushed Pidgeot. My Alakazam annihilated his Alakazam. Lapras massacred his Rhydon and our Arcanine. Charizard barbecued his Executor, and our Executor executed his Blastoise. Jolteon electrocuted his Pidgeot, Alakazam, and Gyarados. Blastoise drowned Rhydon and Arcanine, and Jynx froze his Venusaur. Slowbro washed away his Sandslash and Ninetales. Dodrio triumphed over Alakazam with Tri-Attack. Venusaur cut Cloyster to pieces with Razor Leaf, and Dugtrio triumphed over Executor and Jolteon. After all that work, we are now the champion of the Kanto region. Here are my final team members' stats and movesets when I register them into the Elite Four. And now, for my last and final rule. I can never use these Pokemon families to beat the Elite Four in any game from now on. So, since I use Charizard, I can't use Charmeleon or Charmander to beat the league anymore. This is a challenge to myself to use Pokemon I wouldn't normally use in future games where I catch every Pokemon. If you want a more in-depth explanation for why, I'm going to be posting a video later, a more in-depth explanation for these rules. Chapter 5. Into the Unknown. After beating the game, it's time to head to the last place where we can catch Pokemon, the Unknown Dungeon by Cerulean City. While slowly moving through the maze, we can catch Hypno, Kadabra, Electrode, Lickitung, and Marowak. And at the very end, we can find the strongest Pokemon in Generation 1. Mewtwo. This brings our final total for our Living Dex to 145. We could use a glitch to get Mew, however, we wouldn't be able to transfer it out because it has to have the same trainer ID and original trainer name as the original event Mew. There is a long and tedious way you can do this in the game, but I have a copy of Red with Mew already in it, and we can trade it to ourselves for a Pidgey, and we can get an event Mew into our game. And that leaves us with just 3 Pokemon remaining to complete our Living Dex: Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Charmeleon. I don't really feel like restarting several games just to get these remaining 3 Pokemon. And remember Mr. Mime? We couldn't catch it ourselves and get it in our own original trainer name. So in order to get that, we will have to catch it and trade it from Generation 2 game. So I loaded up my save of Pokemon Crystal and got breeding. After about an hour, breeding in Gen 2 really sucks. We can add Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Charmeleon to our Living Dex. And we catch a wild Mr. Mime and trade it as well, completing our Gen 1 Living Dex. Now, I know what you're thinking. These 4 Pokemon are from Johto. So if I were to transfer them up to Pokemon Bank and then home, wouldn't they say that they originate from Johto? Well, actually, Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon games don't have location data, so when you transfer them through Pokemon Transfer, whichever game they come out of is their home region. So as you can see here, all 4 of them come out as looking like they came from the Kanto region. But we can't celebrate just yet. We're not done. Remember, we want to go beyond a Living Dex. Chapter 6. Beyond the First Generation. Far into the future, some of the Pokemon we caught here can evolve again. So I went through and caught a bunch of extra Pokemon so that we could evolve these Pokemon after we transfer them out of Generation 1. And we find ourselves in Alola, evolving these Pokemon into the following. We get a Crobat, Blossom, Politoed, Slowking, Steelix, Scizor, Kingdra, Porygon 2, Blissey, Magnezone, Licky, Rhyperior, Tangrowth, Electivire, Magmortar, Porygon Z, and we evolved Glaceon from our Eevee that came from Japanese Blue. I also had to breed a lot of Eevees for everything else we're about to do. This gives us Umbreon, Espeon, Leafeon, and Sylveon. And then we go back in time and evolve Scyther into Cleaver in the Hisui region. Now, in some games, these Pokemon can also gain a regional evolution. So, we can get Alolan Raichu, Executor, and Marowak. And, if we move to Galar, we can transfer a Koffing and evolve that into a Galarian Weezing. Now we have all these Pokemon from Generation 1. Nice. While we're in Galar, let's do something big. Let's go ahead and get cooking some G-Max soup. So, we catch and transfer Butterfree, Pikachu, Meowth, Machamp, Gengar, Kingler, Lapras, Snorlax, Venusaur from Green, and Blastoise from Japanese Blue, and feed them all Max Soup. We have 2 Pokemon that we'll have to breed, Charizard and Eevee. and after that's done, we can get all these G-Max Pokemon from Gen 1. You might think this is a little too much, but I think it's cool that we can pull Pokemon from the very first games and do this with them still. And there's one more thing we can say before we're truly done with Gen 1. In Generation 4, Pokemon gave a few Pokemon different appearances based on their gender. I decided I wanted to catch those in Gen 1, but Gen 1 doesn't show gender, so I went ahead and caught multiple copies of the Pokemon that could have a gender difference, hoping I would get lucky. Going back through the game, we caught enough of these Pokemon and transferred them to Gen 7 to check their gender. Now, there are way too many Pokemon here to list, so I'm going to put them all up on screen for you to see. Most of these didn't take too long to catch, and the worst was definitely Scyther. It had a low percentage appearing, and it took a while to get what I needed. I ended up having to catch 7 Scythers before I had enough for all the copies I needed. We also had to get another copy of Politoed, Steelix, Scizor, Rhyperior, and Tangrowth. And I also had to do some last minute breeding to get a Venusaur and our last Eevee, which took ages. Breeding in Generation 2 is very slow compared to more modern games, but with these 2 final Pokemon, we can rest. But how'd I do? We were able to get every Pokemon we wanted to fill our Living Dex, and they all came from Generation 1 of Pokemon. Going forward, I want to keep trying to do this, getting every Pokemon from their original debut generation. So, why not join me on this journey? Anyways, thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Peace.